So, Dave Chappelle is in the hot seat once again. You know, y'all been seeing what's been going on in the blogs and the news now. So, let's talk about it. I'm gonna play my intro music as I tend to do. Oh yeah, welcome to the Talk and Play Blurcast. Thank you so much once again for being here. Intro music about to play. We're talking about Dave Chappelle's The Closer and all of the, drama and backlash and everything surrounding that. Let go. So, Dave Chappelle's The Closer, right? It's like his fourth or fifth, I think it's his fifth comedy special, straight to Netflix, Netflix original stand up, whatever you want to call it, right? So basically, Dave had like a production deal with these folks over at Netflix, and that was to produce, comedy specials for them. So he turned in like four or five. The Closer being the final one. I think the deal was like 60 million or whatever for this, and they're probably gonna keep doing business with him. Y'all see what's going on with the controversy or whatever. Netflix and already came out and said, "Hey, I know you guys are offended or whatever. We're not pulling a special." Apparently, trans workers at Netflix they staging a walkout pretty soon. Like things are getting heated up over there. Following all the backlash for the comedy special. Personally, well, let me start by saying I feel like Dave is like one of the goats as far as comedy is concerned. Like he's doing this shit in such an intelligent way that still has like comedy attached to it. Like I like the style of comedy that Dave Chappelle normally has, or it's not normally, but has like this Dave Chappelle we are seeing right now is being very, like I said, smart and intelligent and meticulous with the things he is saying. Especially in this special, he touched on like race and obviously the LGBTQ and the whole trans community. Being a celebrity in the social media era and stuff like that. And he's taking his conversations to places that are, engaging and thought provoking. Now, as far as the things that he said, about the trans community and stuff, like I get why they would be offended. This is not his first, second, or third time dedicating part of his special to cracking jokes about them. I get it. Like I would be tired of hearing my lifestyle being brought up too if I were offended about the things that he was saying. Like, and it honestly, bro, it's raising some eyebrows, at least for me, because why do we have to keep, you, you offending the LGBTQ community every time you speak about it in the way that you choose to speak about it. Because there's a way that you can speak about the LGBTQ community without offending them, but Dave Chappelle does not do that. So I can understand why they tired of this shit. They don't want to hear him continue to speak about them anymore. And he said in this comedy special that was going to be the end of that. He was not going to speak on the trans community or anybody else in the LGBT community until he says, until we get on the same page about what's going on and about these jokes and all other stuff like that, and just that he doesn't have issue with them, because he also expressed that in the special that he doesn't have issue with them and attempted to explain why not. In that attempt, he brought up the whole turf thing. I can see both sides of that conversation. Based on the way he described it, and from my understanding, TERFs are women who do not agree with trans people referring to themselves as women because they were born as women and they've gone through life from day one as a woman, and they have periods and all this other stuff, and trans people don't know what that's like, so they feel like, oh, you shouldn't be calling yourself a woman, blah blah blah. I get it. I also understand why trans women go out of their way to make sure they stick the trans part in the front of that and kind of create their own type of classification of women, and why they just feel like they should be allowed to use the word woman because it's a fucking word, and the gender assignment, all this other shit is, not real per se. Like, these are all labels given to us by like doctors and scientists and white people who want to continue to be divisive. So, I mean, I get both sides. And on top of that, why I can like see the other side as far as what the trans people are bringing up when it comes to that turf thing, like, it's a label and shit, like I just said, right? So just because another group of individuals or people or whatever the case might be decide that they want to call themselves women, or they feel like women are what they are and that's what they want to be identified as, like, that does not like harm women. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not something that invalidates women as women or people or whatever. It's not something that makes a mockery of women or anything like that. It's like, it's just it's a word, it's a label, a title even. Like, it's not your life experience as a woman is not like defined by the fact that that label exists on you. It's defined by you. You can even be born, a cisgender woman, and decide to tell people like, don't call me a woman. I'm not a woman. I don't want to be referred to as a woman, X, Y, and Z. Like, at the end of the day, it's just about, verbiage, because that's what it is. And then it's about respect, because you can just call people what they want to be called and not feel like that is damaging to you in any way, right? So, I mean, I kind of get it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like, your lived experience is whatever you feel like it is. Like, just because there's labels and words and categories for everything don't necessarily mean you have to subscribe to them. And if it's something that you do subscribe to, that doesn't mean just because somebody else doesn't that, y'all are enemies. Same thing with being a part of any other of the letters in the LGBTQ. Like, just because you are a straight person and somebody's personal choice and business in their personal life, shit that you shouldn't even really care about, like, just because it does not mirror yours or it's not guided by the same principles or whatever the fuck you feel like the issue is, that don't mean y'all gotta be enemies. You could simply just be like, okay, that person likes the same sex, I like the opposite sex, so we don't have a commonality there. But he's black or she's black and so am I, so you know what I'm saying? We kind of get each other still. But I get both sides. And I understand why the trans community was offended by that. And I also like the joke he made, or the commentary he made about how Caitlyn Jenner won Woman of the Year, her very first year as a woman, over all the other women who've been women since birth. Like, I can understand that. Like, that's very understandable. Like, yeah, if some white person, like he said, if Eminem won nigga of the year over him, like come on now. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I also understand the trans point of view. All that aside though, because like, I don't know, I can't really like comfortably speak on that, like the whole issue going on with the trans community, because I'm not a part of the LGBTQ community. I'm not trans. Like, I'm also not Dave Chappelle. Like, this is a discourse that is happening between those two. Dave Chappelle and his thoughts versus the trans community with the support of the LGBTQ, because obviously they support each other and they understand that the trans, lifestyle and struggle better than a straight person would, obviously. But my issue, personally with this shit, is people on the internet in these comments, wanting to call the trans community and the LGBTQ community sensitive and all this other shit. Like, they have this weird thing where it's like, whenever something happens and the LGBTQ community gets offended, they want to talk about how this generation is so sensitive and weak and all this other shit. Like, we gotta cut that. Because I don't know a person, I don't know a person alive that would just sit and let somebody ride on them and just not say nothing. Like, I don't know an individual that will sit and deal with being talked about and discussed in a negative way or in a way that they find negative and just let the shit rock, all in the name of, I don't want nobody to call me sensitive for sticking up for myself. No. That is what people are doing. All this, they sensitive just because you feel like Dave Chappelle should be able to say what he wants to say, or you agree with what Dave Chappelle is saying and shit like that, or you watch the whole comedy special and you understand what the sentiment behind it was and what Dave Chappelle was trying to do. Like, that don't mean people are sensitive because they still took offense to it. Like, it's okay for people to not be cool with you talking shit about them. Nobody care if you grew up in black communities and like, this is what we do. We crack on each other. We talk about each other. That's how we did it. So somebody ain't fucking with that. And that don't mean they sensitive just because you would stand there and let somebody crack on you and talk about your shoes and the fact that you short and all this other shit. You was sitting there and let somebody pick on you and you feel like, I'm going to pick on them back and that's retaliation or whatever. That should be cool because we joking on each other back and forth. That don't mean shit to everybody, bro. Some people would just rather you shut the fuck up and leave them alone. And that don't make them sensitive. Like, we gotta stop doing that just because the LGBTQ community, specifically the trans portion of that community, is piping up and not having no, no lip from Dave Chappelle and making them the butt of his jokes or whatever. That don't mean they being sensitive. Like, when you was a kid and somebody was picking on you and you stood up for yourself and somebody called you sensitive, you got offended by that. Like, bitch, I'm not being sensitive for telling this nigga to stop picking on me. That's not what sensitivity is. And if that's the case, then when a white person tell you they should be okay, or you should be okay with them calling you a nigga or whatever because of how they mean it, then shut the fuck up and take it. Because you're sensitive if you try to correct this white person for calling you something that you don't want them to call you. That's how that shit work. You can't sit up here and be like, okay, well, I agree with Dave Chappelle in his comedy special. I thought it was funny. So all the people that's upset, they're just being sensitive. But then when Tom at your job call you a nigga, the first thing you want to do is run to HR and be like, racial discrimination and all this other shit, and I got a case, I'm finna get some money up out of this company. If the judge told you, nigga, stop being sensitive, it's a word. You know you ain't no nigga with the hard ER. So why you getting upset? Case dismissed. You'll be pissed off. Like, if your kid came home, this person's bullying me, some of y'all might just tell the motherfucker, hey, next time he say something smart, do you hit his ass, or tell the teacher, or you crack on her back. But then you got some parents who gonna just like, nah, I ain't standing for none of that shit. I don't give a fuck if it's gonna make my son, my child, my daughter, or whatever come off as soft or embarrass them or whatever. Ain't nobody finna pick on my child. So I'm finna go up to the school and I'm gonna ride for my kid. That's not being sensitive. It's not. Or it is, and that's just okay. Because we all got feelings and emotions, and we're allowed to experience them no matter how sensitive somebody might perceive us to be. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand that. If somebody take offense to something that's being said or done to them, and they wanna address it and what I'm saying, speak on it in a way that's gonna try to get the person to stop talking about it. They're not sensitive just because you'd be like, well, you shouldn't feel a way because it's just jokes. And nigga, like sometimes jokes don't feel good. When you the butt of the joke and everybody's fucking laughing at you and picking at you, your way of life and the way you live, that shit don't feel good. It's gonna make you wanna, you know what? I'm gonna shut this motherfucker up one way or the other. And that don't mean you being sensitive for feeling like that. But of course, people on the internet act like they so hard and they so tough and things have changed so much. Ain't shit changed like that, nigga. Like when you was a kid and somebody was picking on you, you was standing up for yourself, people was calling you sensitive, you was checking their ass too, because I'm not sensitive for wanting this motherfucker to stop taking my lunch money every day. Like, that's just a part of who we are as human beings. We feel discomfort and we know the source of it and we address the source to try to get the discomfort to stop. That's not being sensitive. Or like I said, it is, and that is okay. Also, Dave Chappelle did not say anything illegal. That's why he's not going to jail behind this. He's not going to court, none of that. So all this, they trying to take away his freedom of speech. Dave Chappelle can say whatever the fuck he want to say. He can get on Twitter right now and retweet every single thing that he said in the comedy special. And all is going to happen, if anything happens, is Twitter is just going to be like, hey, we're going to delete these tweets. Do it again. We're going to suspend your account. And he ain't going to jail. And he got enough money to build his own social platform. Like, I don't think y'all understand. Like, the cancel shit is not real, first of all. And two, just because people are saying, they want the Netflix special pulled down or whatever, that don't mean that they're like trying to silence him or keep him from speaking. There's issue in some of what Dave Chappelle was saying. It can have real life ramifications because you're perpetuating things that are actually causing real harm to the trans community. So they like, you know what? In the interest of trying not to push a negative narrative and spread more hate for trans people who already have an extremely high suicide rate, who already have an extremely high murder rate, let's try to take that down. But Netflix, like I said, 10 toes down. The answer is no. The comedy special stays because capitalism. And it just is what it is. But that doesn't, nobody in the situation is sensitive for feeling how they feel. Nobody in this situation is trying to silence Dave or take away his freedom of speech and all this other shit. So all that bullshit that y'all keep regurgitating in every comment section on every black news blog, cut it out because you sound crazy. You do. You sound crazy because something like this happens and then, like Boosie account getting banned. Like something like this happens where somebody says something crazy or they does something to violate some kind of terms of, agreement or conditions for being able to utilize a platform. That shit gets snatched. They silencing the freedom of speech and they trying to take away this person's freedom of speech and whatever. But as soon as somebody look you in your face and be like, hey, I'm not a boy anymore. Call me a giraffe. Because giraffes are this, you are this. Like, nah, I ain't calling you that. Why not? Why not? If somebody want to be a fish, let their ass be a fish. Why you gotta be the motherfucker that's like, no, because Nemo is a motherfucking fish. You are a human being, so I'm gonna call you a human being. Like it's all a word, bitch. If you got an opinion of a person already or how things are supposed to be, you can have that shit in your head in your own personal world and still be like, but Thomas wants to be referred to as an orangutan, so he's an orangutan. Even though in my head I'm still this is nigga. This a boy. This a motherfucking man. I ain't calling this nigga no. This ain't no goddamn orangutan. He's a man. But he say he want to be called. He want to be Mighty Joe Young. So cool. He's Planet of the Apes. What's wrong with that? Who is it confusing? Nobody. Like I don't understand why people asking you to refer to them a certain way is an issue when you could just do it just so they feel, you know, comforted in the fact that you respect them enough to abide by a wish that they have of you and just move on with your life. But y'all don't look at it like that. Y'all want everything to be the same and y'all want everything to be governed the same way and live by the same rules. Y'all just want everybody to live the same carbon copy, boring ass life where individuality is a pick and choose situation and nobody gets to live how they want to live. It's weird. To the people who didn't watch the stand up but feel like they know enough to make a decision on what side of the fence they want to stand on based on little clips they done seen on Instagram and, Twitter and shit like that, you corny. Watch the fucking special. Pay attention. Don't go into it looking to be offended by something or looking to have your point or your side of the argument proven correct. Just watch the shit. And once you get a full understanding and interpretation of your own of what the fuck you just watched and you digest it in a way that actually makes sense, then form an opinion. Because a lot of people just be watching to be offended or to find something that they deem incorrect or inappropriate or shouldn't have been said. And that's corny. Now, that's why, because a lot of times when you do shit like that, you miss out on the intended goal or the purpose of what things were being said and why. I will personally say about this stand-up special, the story about the trans friend that committed suicide, like, I get what Dave Chappelle was trying to do with it, but it did come off as like, oh, I can't be considered transgender or transphobic because I have a trans friend or had a trans friend. Like, that's the same shit white people do when they trying to gloss over some shit that they did or said that was racist and try to say, oh, I can't be racist because look at these black people that I know. I got black coworkers and friends and black people at my church and shit like that. Like, nah, don't tokenize the shit. Like, I appreciate the story and you sharing your experience with, us through your comedy special or whatever. But it came off as like, oh, I can't be trans because I got a trans friend. It came off. That's how it came off. Nah, I ain't gonna fly about that. It came off like he was trying to say, these things that you guys feel towards me and thinking that I hate the trans community is not true because I had a trans friend and they committed suicide and I gave some money to, her kid after that and all that. It's like, it just came off like that. It came off with the tokenism. And, yeah, I can see that point. Overall, though, I thought it was a solid special. Definitely not Dave's funniest, but what saved it for me was I like the angles that, he's presenting when it comes to having the conversations that he's trying to craft. Like, I like when comedy comes from a smart, intelligent, intellectual space and creates or tries to create meaningful dialogue that could, possibly change some people's viewpoints and opinions on things. Like, I like shit like that. I like that Dave Chappelle and go up there and just try to make sure every punchline hit, and he had us rolling from start to finish. He did what he did in his other specials where he slowed us down and was like, I'm gonna get you laughing or whatever. I'll make sure you laugh, whatever, but let's have some real talk between humans. I like stuff like that. Like I said, definitely wasn't his best, but I wouldn't consider it to be his worst. Could have been a lot more funny in there, but he had some shit he wanted to get off his chest when it came to, race in our country and his long-standing battle with the LGBTQ, and just expressing the difficulties that he's had as a celebrity and stuff. Like, there was a bunch of topics and conversations within the special that were being woven together into one solid body of work. And I think ultimately he did that. He definitely ruffled some feathers. Like I said, I could see why. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see both sides. I'm not Dave Chappelle or his thoughts or his team or whatever, so I can't really speak on that from that angle, nor am I a part of the LGBTQ community, specifically trans, so I can't speak from their angle. So as a spectator, as somebody that's like watching these two sides have discourse, I'm just giving my opinion on how I thought everything went. It's not a bad special. Could have been funnier, but I did laugh, and I think I understand what Dave's intent was with it. And I also like that he at least attempted to bring black people together by pointing out the fact that we're all, minorities in this thing. But it's just even him saying that, like, because I always have been really like, okay, LGBTQ and black people, like, we ain't really that at odds like the internet and straight people who are homophobic as fuck would like us to believe. Like, there are black people that are LGBTQ, so that means every black issue that a straight black person have, they have. But then you gotta add on this extra layer of people in the black community don't fuck with me because for whatever reason they care about what I'm doing in my bedroom. And the white people in the LGBTQ community are still racist as fuck towards they black asses, even though they need them to be up under that umbrella of rainbow and LGBTQ in order to push more of their equality agenda forward. Like, it's weird, and I get the conundrum that society has kind of like placed us in, because for the most part the black community be excluding the black community that are also part of LGBTQ just because, stupid shit like religion and all this other stuff that would tell people that, being a part of the LGBT or being anything other than straight is blasphemous and it's wrong and all this other bullshit. There's no right or wrong way to do life or sexuality. Like, we all different. We all walking our own shit. Like Dave said in his special that I also thought was pretty profound. Like, say his trans friend that ended up killing herself, she said she was just having a human experience and she wanted to be respected as such. This is a human having a human experience. That's everybody. We all having a human experience. None of us are living the exact same lives. It don't matter how much you try to relate to another person or how much you try to bond and move on one accord based on similarities, but motherfuckers are not all living the same life as you, and that's okay, because that's what life is about, differences. I think it's about similarities, but it's about differences. But yeah, the closer. I think it's like I said, solid. Not his best, but definitely, you know, something worth discussing. I'll say that because had Dave took out all of the, LGBTQ and the trans specific commentary or whatever, it left a lot of room in that special that he could have did other stuff with. But like I said, I appreciate his lens on life and the commentary, and well, the commentary that actually made sense. And I appreciate him just trying to spark conversation and trying to do his best to unify, minority groups through his brand of comedy. I'm always, appreciate a smart comedian, and that's what Dave Chappelle is. Didn't laugh as much as I wanted to. Like definitely have laughed harder at Dave Chappelle comedy before. So, that's what I'm pretty much saying, not his best but not his worst. But I could tell just based on the things that he was saying going into like, his jokes and stuff that he had intent to get stuff off his chest and rectify some things, and that intention might have been lost a little bit or a lot of it in the delivery of it all. Like the things that he chose to say to try to get his point across. So, yeah, I guess I would just challenge him now that he's declared no more LGBTQ jokes, no more jokes directed at trans community specifically. Now that he's declared that he will give all that shit up, now let's find some other ways to be funny. Let's find some other ways to joke, because contrary to popular belief, jokes don't have to offend nobody. Like, yes, I understand like jokes are going to offend people, but what I'm saying is they don't necessarily have to. There's a way you could tell a joke and it just be funny. You see it happen all the time on scripted television series and movies and shit. Like sometimes jokes happen and they not fucking offensive, and you could just laugh out loud. Everybody could laugh and nobody is left feeling offended or picked on. But let other people tell it no, because jokes are supposed to be a reflection, a mirror of real life, and whatever the case might be, or why you feel like you should be able to go up there and make homophobic and racist jokes and be okay. Like, no, you could be funny some other way, but it is what it is. Like I said, watch it. If you haven't watched it, don't be one of these people that is, going based on the clips circulating around the internet and just making assumptions and picking a side, because a lot of time that's showing y'all hand as well. That's showing just how homophobic y'all are. Just because y'all see a headline that says Dave Chappelle is receiving backlash from the transgender community based on his comments towards LGBTQ in his comedy special, y'all be right there in the comments. They sensitive and they shouldn't be worried about da-da-da. And the man just did this and all that. You didn't even watch it. And for those of you on the other side of things who are just offended because he chose to speak on the trans community and LGBTQ and you ain't watched the shit neither, watch it and see if maybe, your perspective will be a little bit less offended now that you watched it for yourself and are deciding to understand things from your own perspective. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it right there. Don't want to talk your ear off and stuff like that. Don't want to repeat myself too much. If you want to continue the conversation or just talk to me about anything, it's at BRIAN. That's Brian Saff, SAPPH. I would prefer Twitter. Instagram is more for pictures and videos, but I'm on there as well. Catch me on my Twitch streaming. Go to one of those platforms, Instagram or Twitter. Hit the link in my bio. Hit Twitch. It'll shoot you right to my channel. You can watch me playing some video games or whatever the fuck. And I catch y'all on the next one. Tell me how y'all feel about the comedy special though. Like from your own point of view. I know the outrage and all this other shit, the backlash and Netflix decision to not pull it down is like all the topic, the planned walkout that the trans community that work at Netflix is planning on staging. I know that's all the commentary right now, but let's talk about the special and some of the things that stood out to you and see if we can create some dialogue. But until next time, folks.